Hi, I'm Dawn Montefusco, Transformational Writing Coach, and this is the healing power of words. Create with passion and write powerful stories that have impact. And today we have a really special guest. Not only was I her nanny babysitter, now she's my mentor, and we've reunited, and she's one of the most spectacular authors and movers and shakers in the world right now. We have Lizzie Post, Emily Post's great-great-granddaughter. She's the president at the Emily Post Institute and has been writing, teaching, and speaking about modern etiquette for the past 14 years. She's the co-host of the awesome Etiquette podcast and author of 6 books on etiquette. Lizzie, it is such a pleasure to have you. I know it's 100 degrees where you are right now.
I know, I was going to say, you're going to have
tell
to
everybody about it.
Excuse the fanning, excuse the
crazy. Hey, I'll have a hot flash just to join.
There you go. There you go. You're just teaching me more. No, I am thrilled to be here. I was so happy to do the last one with you, and the talking with you about writing is something I really do value, and I know that we do that on our own, and now we get to do it in front of other people. But it's in my world, I have very few writer friends. And so to have someone who not only knew me when I was 12, but, helped me with one of my books, and also, is just there as you have become a writing coach, talk about synergy in life of people it has been really awesome to delve into the topic and get to kind of sympathize and feel not alone in the world of writing. Yeah. I don't know if a lot of the people you talk to feel that way, but sometimes I feel really alone as a writer.
Oh no, writing, I say that people who write together thrive together, that we have to have, writers, it's a myth actually. I have a whole other thing where I talk about how so many writers, like Thoreau for Walden Pond, right? Mm-hmm. He lived a mile from Walden Pond. He used to walk home. His mother used to do his laundry and feed him, and his sister would help him go over his work. So he wasn't alone. We have this idea that it's so lonely, but really, you've got to have a community. Right now, though, this is a weird time, and you have, I think, one of the most difficult assignments that your family has ever, like the Emily Post. For those of you that aren't familiar, Emily Post, who's awesome, I used to work with her mom and dad. Her father owned a bad.
My mom and dad, not Emily's.
yeah, that's right. Her dad, Lizzie's dad, was a badass PR firm, and I was lucky enough at a young age to learn so much from her family. And the Emily Post Institute was part of that. And Emily Post, when she wrote the book of etiquette, one of the things that was part of etiquette is making people feel comfortable. And she thought the book was going to be 100 pages, and it turned out to be 500 pages or something.
Yeah, it was supposed to be just a short little pamphlet, and it came out to be 627.
Yeah. And when we talk about today's times with healing and words, with social media, with what's going on with social distancing and making sure we care for each other, and what's going on with racism and Black Lives Matter. I mean, if there was not a time in the world where etiquette and words matter now more than ever, and you're rewriting the book.
On behavior. It's true. So Dawn's talking about our company and our brand, the Emily Post Institute, has been writing about etiquette in America for the past century. And the main book that was the national bestseller for years, and has really been known and is cherished, and you can find copies of it on eBay for way more than they should be. That book is called Emily Post's Etiquette. And it is, we signed the contract this winter to do the 20th edition of that book, and it'll be coming out in 2022. And it'll be a real celebration of the original 1922 book. So we're actually going to strip the book way back down. Yep. One of the big things with this book, A, because of the way the contract worked, and B, because I think you have to do this every so often. So we're really starting from scratch. Rather than taking the book that's been adapted and adapted and adapted. We've adapted it so far at this point that we actually need to kind of clean house bring back some of the original Emily voice and humor, narrow the scope. We don't need hiking trail etiquette necessarily in this book when you can Google that really easily, but what you probably do want in a book like this are the more traditional themes of etiquette when it comes to greetings and introductions and entertaining and all of those kind of things you think of when you think etiquette. You think house guest, you think thank you note, you think wedding invitation, you know, those sorts of things. So we are going to bring it back to that. We have a business book for the business etiquette. We have a wedding book for specific wedding planning. Yeah. But then you're sitting there a month after you've signed your contract, and all of a sudden the world shuts down, and everything that you knew about how to behave, how to go to the grocery store, how to visit with your neighbor, how to hug your grandchild completely changes. We're wearing masks for the first time ever, and you can't see someone smile to know they're happy. You can't see that they're actually really distraught. It's huge. And so, writing coach, I have been sitting in my backyard, often chilling out as much as possible. No, I really have been struggling to put words to page right now. On the one hand, I've gotten a handle on how am I going to handle the fact that we don't know what the world is going to be like in 2022 when this comes out. Mm-hmm. I've got a handle on writing through that.
Yeah.
And coming up with different, like maybe we'll put a whole section at the end that talks about social distancing etiquette. Maybe we'll weave it in throughout the chapters. You know, if we're, experiencing times where we're social distancing, you're going to give a wave instead of a handshake. You know, it might be woven in that way. I've gotten that done. Now it's the work. It's the actually getting the words to the page and sitting there and saying, okay, greetings and introductions. Here's how we go through that. This is what it should look like. Here's how it's being inspired by the original book. And I, Dawn, am just sitting there going, mm-hmm.
So this particular show really speaks to the entrepreneur. It really does. So each show has, a specific, some people we're talking about the inner world of words. We've had other coaches talk about fiction, nonfiction. This is very specific, I think, in an excellent situation, because the other entrepreneurs I know that are writing books about, their expertise, they're going, oh my gosh, but what's going to happen in 6 months? How am I supposed to predict this book coming out? And I know your last book, Higher Etiquette, which is awesome, you were very passionate about. Oh my God, she came out to the West Coast, I passed that book around, try to get everybody to read it. It's really, truly the best book ever on cannabis etiquette. It's so cool. But you were very passionate about that, and it was a lot easier, I think, because it was new, it was exciting, it was sort of predictable in the sense
my favorite topics.
Favorite topic, yeah. But when we're writing about assignments that we get as entrepreneurs, and it's sort of our duty to make sure we get these things done. What do you do to get through those moments of procrastination where you go, I think I just want to stare at the wall for 2 hours?
Well, after I've cleaned everything I possibly can and exercised and possibly even experimented with makeup tricks, wear it. I mean, after I've done everything, I've probably smoked a couple joints too to try and just but yeah, it's the procrastinating for me is really that's when I know
cleaning.
Yeah, procrastinating. When I'm starting down the road of work, it starts with procrastinating. And then it's like, now everything's clean and I probably need a break for a minute. And so that's where a nice joint will come in. And then we'll go, or, I'll take the dog for a walk. Totally, it depends on how the day is going.
Yeah.
And then there's a possibility that we then might end up with some food and I might need to nourish myself. And then I finally can sit down. But the question is, do I write or do I research? And for me, when I'm really stuck, when I'm really not feeling like I have the voice ready and the words to then throw through my fingers and onto the keyboard and up to Google, it really is, it's that moment where I go, okay, if I can't actually get words onto my page, then I need to be getting the inspiration for the voice. And for me, I am so fortunate that I'm working off of old texts. And so I go to Emily and I open up my it's a replica copy, so I can write in it and stuff. A
Yeah.
replica copy of the 1922 edition, because that is what I'm using as my inspiration for this. That is what we're celebrating with this book.
Wow. Yeah, for
Is
sure.
that original book. And so, and by the way, that's not to say that this book that I'm writing won't be modern and have modern topics. It's just that the people fell in love with that original book, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
want that feeling to
And
get
it
into
stands the test of time.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
it's
really
about
does
what
in
do you
a lot of
think?
ways.
It's about humanity. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing about Emily Post is that if you know, she wanted people to feel comfortable. It was about the human condition
Yeah.
and creating sense of grace and peace and love. I mean, it really was.
So
You
that,
know?
and she did it in a heavily opinionated and hysterical way in a lot of ways. And so there's this sort of like, she's a character, and
Yeah.
I find that the best way to get inspired to write
Guess who's a character?
the modern version is to read the old one. And so it's great. I sit down, and what I do is I have my it's right here. I have my replica edition, which is not pretty, but it's the replica edition.
Yeah.
And I go through, I wish I had the one that actually had all the notes in it so you could see like how tabbed up. But I go through that, and I've got my book, and I've got my notebook, pen and pencil and paper, and I've got a little thing of tabbies, you know, like sticky tabs.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I take the chapter in Emily's book that I'm going to read, and I go through and I take each section, because remember, this is a reference book.
Yeah.
And so I take each section that she's separated out in the book, and I write down those as just a straight list in my notebook so that I've got an idea of where she decided to go in this chapter. And then I read the chapter, and I make notes on anything that would be a great quote, and I make notes on anything that would be just the thoughts that come up as I go through it. Like I remember at one point she's talking about introductions and greetings, and when you first meet someone, why would you ever say, "I'm so delighted to meet you"? You don't actually know if you're delighted to have met them yet. Like this forces the other person to potentially need to step up and be as delighted as you are. And like she hammers on it for a good few minutes. And then she says the appropriate thing to do is, if you have been delighted afterwards, say, "It's been such a delight to have met you." You know, so it's like where she's placing it. You talk about words and importance and that sort of thing.
Yes.
But I read that, and my brain goes, make a note about over-enthusiastic greetings. And we do that a lot. How much do you feel forced on a regular basis? Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. Yay!
Drives me nuts.
Snaps, and everyone lives on caffeine.
Drives me nuts.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
And you're someone who can be that boisterous, but you don't need to all the time.
No. It took me a long time, but I actually, from learning from your parents and being part of the Emily Post Institute, I mean, I was part of that. I remember one time the PR director, Elizabeth, she says, "Hey, take the call and talk to the reporter." I'm like, "About what?" She goes, "Look it up in the book and answer the question." And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, I can be a spokesperson for Emily Post.
And I learned things to like read, you know, to just say, "Hi, how are you today?" and just leave it at that, you know. And if the person wanted to keep it with "I'm fine," that's great. Some people really do say, "It's been a rough day," and you don't have to be like, "Why? What happened? I don't know." You just say, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry you're feeling that way," you know, and just move on to the whatever they're comfortable with, right? The whole idea is what they're comfortable with. But you know how many people right now, and I'm not kidding you, millennials and Gen Zers, which I love millennials and Gen Zers, thank you so much. Because us Gen Xers, we were the nihilists that gave up on everything, you know? And now we have like the millennials and the Gen Zers are coming in and they're like, "Ooh, we want to make some changes." But the truth is that they really want some guidance on how to help people feel comfortable. I hear that a lot.
Very anxious. And I'm one of them, so I feel like I can say it. But you are right. There is a big seeking for guidance, and there's seeking for the guidance to be well-rounded in terms of perspective. So like we get a lot of comments on from the podcast about appreciation for inclusive language and inclusive examples. So we often like don't just say, oh, you know, when the son brings the girlfriend home to finally meet the parents, you know, we make sure that we use examples of sons bringing boyfriends home and daughters bringing boyfriends
Yes.
home, and we try hard to make sure that our name examples are varied, and that the types of invitations aren't just to, you know, dinner parties or classically Christian events. You know what I mean? It's like that. You try to take that stuff out of Emily Post and the way things were written in the past in ways that only catered towards white audiences or
Right.
white middle class, or even, it's funny, Emily, when it comes to socioeconomics, she really had a broad base, because a lot of people would use her books as ways of, I want to say self-education, but also just of understanding worlds that they might not have been exposed to. If you're coming from a very rural place in America in the 1920s, you may have never been to a restaurant ever in your entire life.
Wow.
And that's no reflection on you or your parents or anything at all. It just simply hadn't happened in your life and your experience. And her book would walk you through how to go through that experience and do it well and comfortably.
That's awesome.
We try to take that part that and bring it forward and let go of the things obviously that are stuck in the 1920s or sometimes the
You're,
1950s.
you're reminding me so much, Joe, my ex-boyfriend, good friend. He has a cousin that is now a she. And when he turned she, Joe was like, you have no idea how great this is for her.
While we won't necessarily be writing the book on how to handle transition within your family, I think there are better suited experts and experienced people to do that. What we do talk about are that people need to be aware of pronouns, that they need to start paying attention to how the people around them identify and self-identify, and that you always want to use reflective language around people when they are self-identifying. So whatever pronouns they choose to use, you use them too.
I've been guilty of that.
And people make mistakes, things happen. My friend, I was just talking with her about this. When her sister was born, she was identified as a boy. And she then later in life, probably I would say late 30s, began transitioning. And when my friend was telling stories about when they were growing up, she asked her sister, how do you want me to refer to you back then? And the sister said, when I was this person, you can say that. It's okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's not true for everybody though. And so you don't want to assume the same thing. And what my friend was doing was saying, I recognize that this is your choice and I want to respect it by asking the question, you know.
Wow.
And so it's there is a lot there, and there is a lot that we can talk about. But we also really want to be looking to leaders and looking to those who are really in the communities that we talk about, and in some of those in some of the communities that we talk about for the guidance.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Yeah. So okay. So what's your favorite part? So of the book, you know, there's got to be a couple parts where you're like, okay, I got this. What are your favorite parts?
Oh God, it's so hard. I love the parts where we are going to be talking in the book about language and about how to talk to others. That's something, as having been in therapy for like 13 years, that one's a big, who's been through that knows your words become very important. So for me, anytime that we're getting to do things like illustrate how different things might come across or how you might adjust language for different situations, that's a place where my brain gets a little like keyed up and is like, ooh, I'm geeking out. This is fun stuff for me. It's fun to think about how to say things in ways that they will make people feel comfortable, or it's hard to do in writing where you're left with that filter where they're going to interpret whatever's on the page with their own voice, their own tone, their own inflection. But at the same time, I love that particular conversation. I love the idea of how editing your voice in the moment and thinking about it just a little bit beforehand can have you make a better selection that puts someone else at ease more, or that lets you stand up for yourself in a way that's confident and that doesn't have so much tension behind it.
Well said.
Right. Well, like, I don't know about you, but how freaking dramatic are we? Like, we are so dramatic and we're so nervous all the time about how people are going to react. And if we have accidentally upset somebody, the fact that they aren't willing to care that that it was accidental, or we're so fearful that they won't care that it's accidental, or that it doesn't even matter that it's accidental, it happened anyway. It's like, we are in such a complex place with rejection, forgiveness, and awkwardness. And I am so excited for putting out material and continuing to put out material that can help people through those bumps with each other. Because how many times are you scared to say something, or you feel gutted because you did something you didn't mean to? Yeah, raise hands. Yeah.
Totally.
All the time.
Yeah. And I'm always like, okay, I really love, I love feeling comfortable, and I love making other people feel comfortable. So if it happens a certain way, or worse, when I see someone do something and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to fix that, and then how can I sort of massage the situation, so that it's not terrible.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, there are so many times where patience and allowing other people to process is a part of that, where things we've learned since we were kids, like the importance of a good apology, become important. So anyway, you had asked, what are my favorite things to write about?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Because this is the stuff that I think mends broken fences. This is the stuff that gives you the tool to make it through that awkward moment and to choose when to speak up about what, how, and it's, I don't know, that's my favorite stuff.
This is so powerful what you're saying, though. The audience really, I know that they're listening going, thank you, thank you, thank you. Speaking of 13 years of therapy, how do you get past your inner critic when you hear that critic go, I suck right now, I'm writing and I'm sure you have a trick.
Yeah, I call the people who I need to hear from to tell me I don't suck.
Yes.
I try to do things like, first of all, one thing I have done is that I've saved notes of congratulations about other pieces of writing. That's one thing. Like my grandparents, when I wrote my first book for Emily Post, they sent me a congratulations card, and it's somewhere on my desk here. But it's that kind of a thing where I save that, or maybe it's an email from someone who wrote in, or maybe it's a message on social media that I just remember that someone wrote this and said this, Because today we had someone write in about higher etiquette and how they were really excited about it, how it made them feel good to read that book, and that made me feel like, okay, good, like I'm a writer.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice.
When I can't get, so Dan's my person. Dan, my business partner, my cousin, my co-host on Awesome Etiquette. He's the person I reach to when I need the boost of confidence. And if I can't get him, or I can't get someone like Kelly Williams Brown, another writer, fabulous, by the way. She wrote the book Adulting, coined that phrase. She's another person who I know just gets it, or I can't get you on the phone. I remember what these people would say to me, because at 37 and a half years old, I am perfectly capable of remembering my conversations with you and knowing that you would say things to encourage me, and allowing that knowledge to be the thing that if I can't reach you, to lean on you for it. I can say, Lizzie, you're strong enough to remember what these people who love you would say about you. You're strong enough to know that you've gotten good reviews. You're strong enough to know that you've received praise before. Like, you're strong enough to remember, capable enough to remember these things. So do it. Don't just sit there and be a whiner wanting praise. And so, then it turns into beating yourself up. You're like, are you kidding me? You really need someone to encourage you right now? You are better than that. Go encourage yourself. That's what it sounds
That's
like.
fantastic. No, that's again the inside words. We have to learn to train ourselves for this. You're doing such incredible work. So one of the things that I want to encourage everyone for is what's the website? We're going to have it
Oh,
on the page.
yes. We're in the middle of rebuilding it, but emilypost.com is our website.
And if you sign up for the newsletter, which you have to sign up for, number one, you get all the posts when they have the awesome etiquette show, which is awesome. And you will be the first to know when the new book of etiquette comes out. And you definitely want to be an early adopter on this because you're going to be ahead of the game. You're going to be ahead of it.
Dawn, it's going to be so special. 10 Speed Press is the publisher, and they've already promised to make it like a gorgeous keepsake book, like to keep it in the tradition of the original Emily Post. I don't know if you can see them all on the wall back there, but it's like, I know, and I've got blue books on a blue background. I don't know what I was thinking, but it's beautiful. It's the kind of book you would want on your shelf, to keep on your shelf, to pass on. So I thank you. I'm really excited for people to sign up, and this one in particular is going to be a big.
And there's so much good stuff in it, like in the newsletter. Like I have to say, like I don't read a lot of newsletters. I read your newsletter.
You really read it. You do.
I do. I swear. And I like to hear your voice because I love you. So
because I'm the one writing it.
and I go to the podcast. Yeah. And seriously, we're going to be entering into a very historic time, and this is a gift to the world that you're giving us. And I just wanted to say thank you because I know it's a lot of work, but it's going to affect millions of people, and I really want to appreciate all the work that you're doing. And you've done so much work on yourself to really put it into the book that I just think that it's an honor that you're passing that down, as a family into this book. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, this is, I know recently irregardless was a big hit in the dictionary. There was a big story on the word irregardless, and Merriam-Webster, I think, was the publisher who said we don't make the words and be what they are. It's a reflection of how society uses them, and that's so how Emily Post operates. The etiquette is completely dictated by how we as a culture behave. It's about paying attention to what's going on out there. And I just have to thank everybody in your audience and the Emily Post audience, because your contributions, speaking up, telling us your perspective, telling us how you feel when things happen, when people don't RSVP, or, when someone says, I was so sorry for your loss. When we hear how you react to these things, they are what become the etiquette for America today.
Absolutely.
So just thank you to your audience and everyone for participating and making it possible to write books like this.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you too, and thank you so much for this.
We'll see each other soon, okay?
It's only 3,000 miles. Come on.
Yeah, well, as soon as we're allowed to get on a freaking plane. I was supposed to be there. Side note, remember? I was going to go see. So
you've seen my parents more recently than me.
I know.
They say hi, by the way.
Thanks. Tell them I said hi. All right, love. Go cool off.
Thank you
so much. This has been great, and I can't wait to read the book. We're all going to be just waiting for it to come out.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye. Love you too.
Bye.